All right. Welcome back, friends. It's nice to see you on this Good Friday. Look at you all looking beautiful out there. Yeah, nice to see you again. Thanks for joining me. Listen, today should be a fun one. We're going to talk about fear and loathing in real estate. Okay, I'm sure you've all heard the news that it's the end of the world for us real estate agents. They finally found a way to destroy us. Okay, before we get into all that, as always, let's take a look at some real estate statistics. All right. So here we in episode number 35, right? Yeah, 35. This morning, when I got up and checked these stats, was somewhat surprised to see a current inventory of single-family homes and condos in Lorain County sitting at 294. Last week was the lowest that I'd seen since I started doing this, and we are 17 units lower than that. There were 58 sales last week, 58 closed sales last week. The median square foot of a sold home last week was 1,512 square feet. Median home value was $212,500. The median square foot price was $138.89. So now this is a stat line that I told you guys I'm going to start tracking quarterly, because I think it's a better metric for what's going on with prices. So if you can see over here in column L, the average of all the median square foot prices for the first quarter of 2024 was $143.85. Now I went back and averaged out the final quarter of 2023, and it was, typo, $148.32. So we came down 3% in the average median square foot value from Q4 2023 to Q1 2024. Again, that's just one quarter over quarter, 3% drop from quarter to quarter. We're going to need to take a much longer look at this. I think when we get into the fourth quarter of 2024, we're going to have a better idea of what's going on. But this is the first time I took a look at quarterly square foot price averages. Average time spent on the market last week was 39 days. This morning, the interest rate market woke up 6.91% on a 30-year conventional note. And then the big sale of last week was $650,000 in trade wins in Avon Lake. I want to talk a little bit more about some of these statistics before we get into the topic of the day. Supply and demand. This is something we talk about. 294 units, excuse me, currently on the market, being the lowest that I've seen since I started paying attention to this last August. Well, so if inventory continues to creep down and demand, which has been, it seems to be relatively static, why are we then losing prices, right? If the story is about inventory. So I took a little bit of a look at inventory. So in Q1 2021, there were 815 sales. In Q1 2022, 854. Then in Q1 23, which was the record lowest number of sales, there was 731 sales in Q1. So year over year in quarter one, that was a 15% drop from 2022 to 2023. And then here at the end of Q1 24, which I know we're not totally over, but it's Good Friday. On Monday, it's the 1st of April. So ostensibly, we're just about over with Q1. There were 681 sales. So, that's 50 units less than last year at this time. That's a 7% drop from last year and a 20% overall drop from just 2 years ago. So demand has dropped. It's continued to drop year over year, which is why I think we see a little bit of equilibrium here in these prices. So that is one statistic that I wanted to bring to your guys' attention. So that said, before we get into our big topic of the day, let's take a look at the real estate meme of the week. All right. There's Emily, sweet Emily, 35 years old, right? And she just got licensed in 2021, and this is what's happened to her. This one tickled. This one made me giggle when I found it. Okay, all right, guys, let's get into it. So we've all heard in the news about these lawsuits and these settlements from NAR and various brokerages, and what does it all mean? What's going to happen? I know that there is a lot of fear in the industry about what this means for agents and pay and everything like this. And here's what I can tell you as an insider, that a lot of what you're hearing on the news it's not accurate. It's not good information. It's not good perspective. It's clickbait. They speak in certainties that simply don't exist. I've attended a lot of meetings. I've watched plenty of podcasts. I've listened to plenty of news about all this, trying to round out my perspective on what's going on. And what I can tell you is that the more I learn, the more questions come up. So when you listen to somebody who speaks in certainties about what's going on and what it all means, just take that with a very large lump of salt and skepticism, because there's very little that we actually know of what's going on. I mean, one of the things that I hear the most in the news are, sellers are now going to be paying half the commission. And, I would just say, good luck selling your house, especially if you're selling here in this market under $250,000, and finding buyers who can afford to buy your house, pay their agent, pay their title fees, pay their lender fees, and their down payment. That's going to be real difficult to find that buyer. So in some way, shape, or form, a lot of sellers are going to continue to pay in some way for buyers agents commissions. Not all the time. One thing's certain, that there's going to be a lot of change in the way we negotiate with clients, a lot of change in the way that we communicate with one another as agents, but what do we know about this? Like, even what we think we know isn't certain. So there are two major rule changes based on the settlement from NAR, but even that is not a certainty because it has yet to be approved by the court. Now, the fact that these rule changes have made the light of day in the way that they have, I think that means we're very, very close to an agreement, and it's very, very likely that we're going to see these two rule changes implemented in mid-July. The first of two is that brokers are no longer going to be allowed to advertise a commission split or a commission share on the MLS. So as it is right now, when we look at an MLS, when I'm looking at properties, it'll say on there how much of the commission the seller is willing to pay to the buyer broker to bring that buyer and close that deal. Brokers are no longer going to be allowed to advertise any sort of commission or commission split on the MLS. It doesn't mean that sellers aren't allowed to pay anymore. It doesn't mean that there isn't some way to negotiate payment from the seller towards buyer agent commissions. It just means we're not allowed to advertise it. Okay. Rule number two is that before an agent shows a property, that buyer is going to need to enter into an exclusive agency agreement with that broker, the same way that we agents do with a seller before we list a property. Okay. So again, buyers are going to need to sign an agreement. And while this happens with regularity in other parts of the country, here in this market, Northeast Ohio, this is not common practice where a buyer signs a document saying, I will exclusively work with this brokerage to help me find my home. But that will become a rule as well in July. So what else do we know? What else do I know? Honestly, here's what I know. I'm going to be all right. I'm not scared. Right sales team's going to be all right. And here's why, guys. We are dedicated to service to people. That's what this team's about. That's what the MO is in our sales practices. Zig Ziglar said, you can have everything in life you want as long as you help enough people get what they want. And that's basically what it is. I mean, guys, I started in sales in 2007 in consultative sales. I came from an environment that had me believing that salespeople were the slimiest people on earth. I found out very quickly after starting that stereotype not only does it not need to be true, the exact opposite could be true. And I learned pretty quickly that if I take care of people, I can get paid, and I can get paid well. Um, Took me about 10 years in consultative sales before I began to earn some sort of mastery over the craft. And believe me when I say it is indeed a craft. Salesmanship is a craft. It starts with a mindset, it ends with a mindset. In between, there's a bunch of tools and a whole lot of ever changing strategy, right? But I love sales. I'm very blessed to have found this career path. Sales has transformed my life. When I started this in 2007, my wife and I were on welfare. We had the WIC coupons, the state was carrying our daughter's insurance, and sales has allowed me to completely transform my life and go from being in that sort of financial situation where it was pretty dire, felt pretty dire at least, to now I'm in a place where, I have investments, we can travel. My kids have need for nothing and they get most of what they want. And, it's just, I live a very blessed life. I mean, honestly, you hear people sarcastically say when you ask them how they're doing, we're living the dream. Well, I can honestly say to you that I am living the things that I dreamed about 10 years ago. And it's just been amazing. And it has been dedication and service to people that has provided this sort of life to me. And I mean, that is really the whole reason behind the genesis of Right Sales Team was, I was able to transform my life and find myself in this comfortable, very blessed space. And here's the reality, guys. I'm pretty average by all measures. I'm not infallible by any means. I got plenty of flaws, and I'm certainly nobody special. And so I know if I can do what I've been able to do, I'm not a rich man yet, but being able to go from poverty, to wellness and, a positive net worth, man, anybody can do it. Anybody can do it. And I want to be able to show other people how they can do it in their own lives. It starts and ends with a mindset, like I said earlier. So believing in yourself, right? I want to teach the agents who come on the team. First, we start with mindset, and then we get into how do we construct a business model as an individual agent that's going to help me create this consistent income for a long time and be able to transform your lives. And, I've been blessed to have some wonderful agents who, with like minds, come on the team and really start taking off and doing some amazing things. That's why Right Sales Team is going to be okay, because the dedication to people, the service to people is what's first and foremost. I mean, we get paid to sell houses, but it's more than that. We have a focus on connecting people. We have a focus on being resources to people so that they can further advance and achieve their own agendas in their own lives, so that they can realize their dreams, whether it directly means a paycheck or not. That's the kind of service that we aim to provide, and I'll tell you, one of the greatest things that I've learned, or that's been given to me in my sales career, was the realization a long time ago that it's on me. Okay. Whether it's the deal and the way it's going, my income, the relationships that I have with people, when I learned to take ownership of that, to be responsible for that, when I learned when things went sideways a little bit, that I needed to be introspective and figure out, okay, even if I can't assign myself some measure of culpability, what could I have done differently to have affected a different outcome? And having that real self-critical review, man, it has made me a better person. It's made me a better salesperson, of course, but it's made me a better human being. And, I'll tell you that taking on that level of responsibility in my life has also provided me with a measure of integrity and purpose that has allowed me to impact my family. It's allowed me to impact my community. And the blessings I've received from those two things are innumerable, immeasurable, and I really can't put them into words how blessed and lucky I am, right? So, it's also it's also provided me with freedom. And it's kind of oxymoronic talking about how taking on more responsibility has given me freedom, but it really has. It's given me freedom to pursue, these higher ideals without the concern of judgment from people around me. Like, I know I'm guided with a very benign spirit, and so I really don't care unless your criticism helps me become better. I really don't care, guys. So that's the freedom that it's also provided me. And I'll tell you what, guys, if we walk the walk through life with that spirit of determination, that dedication to service of our fellow human beings, what have we got to fear? All right. Until next week, people, I love you.